Hey guys, Squdge here. Welcome back to another Squdge craft video. So I have been streaming live on Twitch, as a lot of you know. Links are in the description if you're ever interested in joining me there live. And I get so many questions about things. And as you see, as part of this playlist, I've got all my magnets, I've got things like that, and everyone's been begging me and constantly asking me about the different glues I use, because I have quite a few. And so what people have asked for and what I'm doing today is sort of like a glue 101. This is by no means everything you need to know about every glue ever. It's not. This is me giving you advice based on the glue that I use and that I find functional in different situations. Okay, so let's get started. We'll start off with, where shall we start? I'm going to start off with the ones not to use, and I'll give you some examples and some reasoning as to why I don't like to use them, and then hopefully you will understand why they're my not uses. Okay, so first up is your PVA glue. This is your standard white glue, most used in schools. Some craft glues are PVA, but not all PVAs are craft glues. So to do a standard PVA, I'm going to glue on the back of this piece. Okay, so I've popped glue on the back. And I'm just going to stick this down here. And we're going to glue that on. We're going to leave it to dry. Okay, I've got it all over my fingers. So PVA is a great starter glue, great for kids. It is water based, so it will wash out of things. It is non-toxic, so again great for use with kids, to use on small simple projects. Really good starter glue. It's usually pretty cheap as well. A step up from this is craft glue. Now craft glue is very similar. Craft glue is a water-based glue. It is flexible when it's dry, which means it works great for paper. It means you can still sort of move the paper around once it's dry. However, I'm going to grab my art glitter, which I have in a smaller bottle. Again, I work better in smaller bottles. Now, art glitter glue, this is a specialist, come on, there we go. It is a specialist glue. It's Art Glitter is the brand. There is no glitter in it. It is a dries clear water-based adhesive. Okay, again it says at the bottom permanent, water-based, non-toxic. Okay, this stuff is brilliant. Absolutely love it. And when it's dry, you'll really understand why I love it. So I'm gonna, to start with, you need a lot less glue, but all right. The little bottle doesn't want to work, we'll use the big bottle. Okay. And this I'm going to do as the art glitter. Okay, it's a little bit over the top. Overexcited glue. Put the pin back in. And if you're interested in the pin dangle that I've made, there is a video either out or coming soon that will tell you how to make them. Okay, so those are the sort of two most easy glues to get hold of. Majority of people will use either a PVA glue or a craft glue. Now the difficulty with the PVA, I'm not sure if the camera is, it is, there you go. Can you see the wrinkles in this? Especially on the back. Because the PVA, and you can see how much glue is used on there and it's not wrinkling at all. The PVA has a high water content. Craft glues have a smaller water content, and art glitter glue specifically has the smallest water content I have found. It will not wrinkle your paper. It is a fantastic glue, and if you can get hold of it, this glue is the best for most things. If you are crafting, if you're doing paper crafting, if you're making cards, if you're making mini albums, if you're doing mixed media things, if you're painting, if you're doing, you know, altered boxes, if you're doing canvases and you want to stick things on, this is a great all-rounder glue. However, if you want to be much more specific, there are more specific glues. The next glue that a lot of people will use and have is wood glue. Wood glue I don't have an example for. It is great, but it is specifically made for wood. It will wrinkle your paper because it's water-based and it's designed for wood. It has a higher water content. However, when wood glue dries, it is water resistant, which means that your wooden pieces will stick together and will be water resistant. Not waterproof, but water resistant. I don't have an example of wood glue. I don't use wood glue in my craft room, but there is wood glue. The next one that a lot of people are going to have is hot glue. Hot glue often comes in sticks like this. This is quite a small one. You can get larger ones, and it will go in a hot glue gun. This is my hot glue gun. It gets plugged in, and then when it heats up, it gets very hot in here. It melts the glue, and it comes out of this end. This is great. It bonds quickly and it bonds strong. However, if you're not used to using this, or if you have children around or anyone who has problems with mobility, I struggle sometimes with my hands. I will only use my hot glue gun on days where I'm feeling really confident because it gets so hot. This gets up, the cold glue guns is 250 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 121 degrees Celsius. 250 Fahrenheit, 121 Celsius is the cold ones. If you use the hottest ones, it's 380 Fahrenheit, which is 193 Celsius. Those will burn you. So please only use this if you are not surrounded by small children or people who might knock it over and burn themselves. You can get, and I do suggest, silicone finger covers. These are actually thimbles. You know, the thimbles that people use to flip through papers, like secretaries use in things. You can get longer ones which are designed for hot glue, but I'm not going to lie to you, they're expensive, whereas these are cheap. So I will have these on my fingers. For example, I would have one on my finger, one on my thumb. So when I'm using the hot glue, it's only going to touch them. And because it's silicone, it's not going to burn my fingers. So if you're using a hot glue gun, please take precautions, because it can really, really hurt. Okay, so that is a hot glue gun. Again, usually comes in sticks. You can get all sorts of coloured ones, you can get glittered ones, you can get all sorts of sticks for hot glue. They're really cool. You can do some fun techniques with those. Okay, the next one is fabric glue. Now, there are lots of different types of fabric glue. If you want to use things like ribbons, if you want to use things like lace, if you want to use things like, I don't know, embroidery pieces, bits of a dress, anything for texture, if you want to make pockets for things, in journals. You can use the art glitter glue. It will secure it. However, it's not the best thing for it, and it can end up with things. Let's try and not do that. It can end up with things falling apart after a long period of time. Whereas fabric glue, I use Beacon Fabri-Tac. This glue is fantastic. So, permanent adhesive, bonds fabrics, lace, glass, leather, wood and trims. Grabs fast and dries clear. Acid free and washable. And there are two things that I absolutely adore about this glue. The first one is, so it is a clear glue, as you can see. It is a clear glue. It is fantastic to stick the fabric on because it bonds to all of the fibres. However, if you get some on your finger, so let me stick this down. If you get it on your finger, a lot of glues when you get them on you can make you really sticky. This glue is fantastic. So, if I get it on my finger, if I want to try and rub it off, can you see what's happening? It beads up and it turns into little bits that are not particularly sticky. So that means you can wipe it off your skin, put it straight in the bin, and it doesn't make a mess. So there are other fabric glues. There are plenty of fabric glues. I have, for example, this fabric glue, which works, but I don't like this one so much. It's a great beginner's one, but if you're going to fork out for fabric glue, I personally would go for the Beacon Fabri-Tac. It is fantastic. And to be honest, look, that's secure, that's bare, that's not going anywhere. Obviously the edges that aren't stuck down are fine, but that is not moving already. That's how quick that takes. Okay. What else do we have? Okay, two more that I want to touch on, and then I'll give you my recommended glue. So there is acrylic glue. So this is the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. Now acrylic glue is a very strong bond, however it can be difficult to use. Designed for acrylic pieces, yes, but will also stick paper, wood, cardboard. The problem is when it dries, to start with, it dries slowly and it dries tacky. So if you had a tiny bit sticking out, it would be really sticky and every bit of dust and dirt would stick to that, which we don't like. Also, once it dries, if there's a bit that you put on too thick, it will clump and it will cause a dent in your paper. Maybe not in your card, but in your paper it will cause dents. So it's a good glue, but it isn't as multi-purpose as the art glitter. So yeah, it's okay. I would avoid it. The next glue that a lot of people have seen or know of is Mod Podge. Mod Podge is a great glue. You can get the matte or the glossy version. You might be asking, why the hell do you need matte or glossy for a glue? That is because this has multi-purposes. This also counts as a sealer, a water-based sealer, and as a finish. So this gloss one, you could use it as sort of like a varnish. So yes, it does work as a glue, but it's not its primary use, which is why I don't like to use it as a glue. I love to use it as a varnish, as a finish. It's great, but I don't like to use it as a glue. It's not its sole purpose. It's not as well designed as other glues. But if you have it, it's great to use. Don't throw it in the bin and buy something else. It works well, but don't go out of your way to buy it if you're looking for an all-rounder glue. I also sometimes use gel matte medium. There is a Distress collage medium. Distress do it. This is a Liquitex bigger pot of it. This is also a great glue. However, it is thick and gloopy and best used for mixed media projects. So if you're attaching bits of glass to a board to make something, if you are doing say you're doing a beach piece and you're adding shells like I have done here, I used this to attach all of these pieces on here, and they are rock solid. They're not coming off. They are secure. Okay, they are secure on there. Same as this. All of these wood pieces were secured using this. However, it is messy. Can you see underneath this cog there's bits of glue sticking up here? There's bits of the glue showing. On a project like this, you are not going to notice. But you use this on a bit of paper, you are going to end up with lumps and bumps. If I show you what I mean, so let's do gel medium. This, look, you can see how much of a mess that glue has made. It's got all the cat fur that's in this room stuck to it. Okay, as I say, this is very gloopy and hard to use, and I'm just going to use a little bit. Just going to use a little bit to stick this paper on. The problem is, I now have to find a way to clean this. Thankfully, I'm just going to wipe it off. But this is a glue that will get everywhere, so be careful with it. We'll leave that to dry. So, PVA, standard, most common glue, lots of people use it. It's a good starter glue. Craft glue, great glue. Art glitter if you can get it, the best craft glue I have ever used. Hot glue, again great as long as you're careful because it can burn you. Fabric glue, I mean that's not coming off, and I am pulling with all my might. That is not coming off. Fabric glue, Fabri-Tac, great. Gel medium is good. It takes a while to dry. But can you see how wrinkled the paper is? So the PVA and the gel matte are very water based, so they will crinkle thin paper. Okay, the glue that I suggest you use above all is art glitter. However, if you are doing things like building an album, if you are building something that contains structural elements, so you have something like this, where you've got this whole section is attached here. This is very thin 1/2 inch strip. You want a glue that is going to support that. The best glue that I have found is a solvent based glue. I use this Kalau. This is the best glue that I have found for it. Okay, it is a solvent based glue. What that means is that the glue, the actual bits that bond, have been kind of diluted in the liquid. Okay, and what happens is the liquid evaporates and you are left with a ridiculously strong glue. Okay, if I cut a piece of this paper off. Okay. The other thing that is important to know is that this is, as you can see, a clear glue, which can be useful in situations. However, when I pop this glue on, okay, I'm going to put it down in this corner just to make a point. Okay. So Kalau is my go-to solvent. There are other solvent based. Fabri-Tac is a solvent based glue, but it is designed purely for fabric. So what will happen with this solvent based glue? All of the liquid element will evaporate. It won't do it immediately, but it will evaporate. It takes a little while longer to dry, but it will evaporate. Once it evaporates, you get just the glue. It says on the bottle, glues paper, cardboard, leather, wood, ceramics, glass and several plastics. The only thing you don't want to use it on is lacquered materials, so things like your kitchen worktops, things like that. When this dries, it's going to go hard. I know that's hard to imagine, but this glue is going to add a layer of strength. So where this is still very flexible, this, when it dries, is not going to be as flexible because it's going to harden. The liquid part of it is going to evaporate and you're going to be left with the bonding agent, which is going to be quite concentrated and solid. So even this is still quite flexible. When this fully dries, it won't be, and that adds a layer of strength. So if you're doing something structural, if you're building an album, if you are doing something like that, this is the glue I would suggest. But I want to make a point. Notice this has warning labels on it. It is solvent based, which means it is a chemical. So it has the danger symbol on and it has the fire. It could be flammable, don't put it near an open flame. And it has a smell. Because it's a solvent based glue, it has a smell, and you need to be aware of that if you're working in an enclosed space or what have you. But for me, if you buy these two glues, you are set for everything, because you can use this for fabrics. If you can only buy one glue, I would buy this. If you are making something structural, I would include this. And these are the two glues that I rate the highest in my experience of working with the materials I work with. Okay, so now if I show you, right, just have a listen. That's how thin this paper is, okay? This paper with PVA, it's better because there's two layers, but it's still quite flimsy. Can you hear how thick that is? And it's kind of hard to see how this one easily moves. Like it flows. This doesn't. Can you see it's not flowing as easily because it's thickened up. That glue has created a layer in the middle. So it's now paper glue paper, which is why these two are my favourites. There are other things you might find. For example, you might have heard of glossy accents. It can be used as a glue, and it is a very strong glue, but it's not designed to be a glue. So like the Mod Podge, the glue is kind of a secondary use, so it's not, in my opinion, fit for purpose as a glue. But if you have this, it works brilliantly as a glue. I don't want you to think with this video that I'm saying you have to go out and buy all these things, because that is not what I want you to do. I don't want you to go out and buy things. I just want you to think next time you're buying a glue, what is the purpose? What are you buying it for? If you're buying wood glue because you need it on wood, don't buy a fabric based glue, and vice versa. Okay, If you're doing paper crafts, card making, things like that, this is my top pick. Art glitter glue, it's incredible. It doesn't wrinkle your paper. A little bit goes a long way and it dries really quickly. If you're doing things more structural like albums, then I would use the cloud glue because it adds a layer of strength. If you can do two, these are my two go-to glues. I have the other glues, but these are the two I use on a daily basis. I hope that's answered any questions that you have. If you have any more questions, please pop them down in the comment section. If you've enjoyed this and found it informative, give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing. Any questions, let me know, and I'll see you on the next one. Keep crafting. Bye.